First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is Career Innovations weekly Q&A session that we hold or held that we have every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today we did get some questions in that we're going to go ahead and review. This session is being recorded. We do upload our recorded sessions to our YouTube channel. So if you ever miss a session for any reason, you can definitely go to our YouTube channel. It's Career Innovations, all one word. And you can check out our latest Q&A session. Usually we try to have them uploaded within the first 24 to 48 hours, but they have gone later than that depending on our workload. You can ask questions one or two ways depending on how you logged in. If you logged in and actually entered a audio code, you can raise your hand and I can unmute your mic and you can verbally ask your question. If you did not, you can actually type your question in the panel below. I really do recommend, if you have a question and you already know what you want to ask, to go ahead and type it in. So once we wrap up the slides, we definitely can get to those questions. I do request that everyone actually give me their questions ahead of time, so that way I can definitely have this already in the slides, so we already know what you're going to cover. So that's something I actually do recommend and ask for everyone to do. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Before I get started, I usually give about a quick 30-second overview about what Career Innovations is and what we actually do and who we are. I'm Bridget Bag, and I am the Director of Career Innovations. We are an executive search firm. We've launched in 2007. We pretty much find innovative and unconventional ways to find top talent. So that's pretty much what we do. But we also understand that we cannot place every single person that comes across our desk. And this is one of the reasons why we do offer our Q&A session, because we do recognize that we're unable to always reach out and place every single person that reaches out to us. One thing that we do offer on top of our training, we do resume writing and editing. We also do career coaching, market research, compensation benchmarking, referral and retention workshops. And I always like to start each workshop or session with a quote. And today's quote is, it looks like I misspelled that, you are born to win. But to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. So that's something that I want everyone to have a mentality of a winner. Let's go ahead and get our first question. This was submitted to me prior to the workshop. This says, I am working a job that is very demanding and unable to effectively look for my next professional opportunity. I know it's best only to resign when I have a new job already in place. But I'm so tempted to leave right now. What are your thoughts? And if anybody's out there ever been in a position or worked a particular job that they have you so busy that you're unable to even look for a job, it sounds like this is this type of scenario. So I wanted to bring two separate points. And a lot of people, regardless if you're gainfully employed now looking for that next opportunity, or if you're unemployed and you're just looking to get a job or get your foot in the door, this all pertains to you. So once you get that job, or if you're in this position now that you pretty much feel that you're overworked, you're put in a position that I can't even catch my breath, let alone apply to my next opportunity. And if I did get the job, or did get the opportunity, when could I even interview? But I want you to consider this before you resign. And this all boils down to time management. Before you resign, if you say resignation before a career opportunity. So if you quit your job and you don't have a career or don't have something lined up, these are the things that you have. I'm just telling you, this is some of the advantages of doing that. And I'm not going to give you what answer. And of course, you already answered that question. I always stick by my guns and say you should have an opportunity lined up before you quit. I'm still at that place. Unless you can afford to quit, or you're looking to start a business, or you have an opportunity that's definitely worth pursuing, that's bigger than this job that you're working. Of course there's always exceptions to the rule, but majority of the time, I always tell people to have some type of opportunity lined up, especially if you're gainfully employed. Have something lined up before you walk away from that job. But if you don't, some of the perks of doing this, you have a peace of mind. So if you're telling me you're working this particular job, it's driving you crazy, it's draining you, you don't have time to apply, you will have a peace of mind, and you also will have the freedom that it sounds like you're yearning for, as well as the time to apply for other jobs. This also can be a time for reflection. You may not know what you want to apply for. You may not know what your next career move is. So this may be a time to reflect on that. And it also, in some way, shape, or form gives you leverage, because you can leave on your terms. Or you can use that as leverage to move in another department, make a lateral move, so, that can be very dangerous if you use it in a way to get a raise, because you're playing with fire. But no, you definitely can use it as leverage if you need to. So these are some of the pros to actually leaving your job if that's what you want to do now. And again, if it's economically feasible, which means that, hey, I have enough money saved up that I don't have to work for the next 6 months or 12 months or even 2 years or 24 months, hey, go for it. If you have the finances and you can actually keep yourself stable for that long, because what I'm going to reflect on now is that there's no guarantees, which means that, you don't get any more paychecks. This is the realistic part of quitting your job and not having an opportunity lined up. you know so if you're not getting paid, you're not getting benefits, which means that more than likely, I don't know, depending on how your company works, you may have paid into your benefits up to this year. They may expire in 2016. I don't know how your benefits are set up, but most of the time when you leave a job, not only does the paycheck stop, so does the benefits. So that's something you have to consider. And there's no guarantees. And what I mean by that, if you're not in a booming, demanding industry, is no guarantees that you're going to get a job offer 4 weeks from now, or 6 weeks from now, or 6 months from now. I work with clients that have been out of work for a year. Are you ready for that? So that's something that you're going to have to consider. And you also become less attractive and less competitive. And I don't care what recruiter tells you, and I'm not co-signing on this, and I'm not saying this is right or this is wrong. I'm trying to scroll down to my notes. I'm not saying this is right, or this particular sentence I'm going to say is wrong, but unfortunately there's a psychological um, conscious that employers have, and reaction, and they act upon this when they see someone that's gainfully employed. And that's why, and statistic and research has shown that it's easier to get a job, or easier to get an opportunity when you have one. That's nothing new. So when you leave your job and now you have this gap on your resume, you now have become less competitive and less attractive in the employer's eyes, because we have this sense of I want what I can't have. And that's why, hey, they're working for a competitor, or they're working for a company that we respect, or we've done business with. That may be the thing that gets them to even call you back. But if they say, hey, this person's been out of work for 6 months, or been out of work for a year, that no longer is a competitive edge that you have. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm telling you it's real. It happens. That's the reality of it, unfortunately. So that's something that you have to consider as well. If you do decide, those are the cons. If you do decide to resign and not having that job, and I know this job can be driving you crazy and you're tempted to leave, I really urge you to make a list and take a look at it. and make it something that you're going to incorporate in your day. And I really think this boils down to time management. If you are so overwhelmed, you need to start making a schedule that you can follow in which you can apply to jobs. Now, I'm going to work from X amount of time. If I'm bringing work home, I'm spending this much of time on it, and I have a window of time that I'm just applying to jobs. I have a window of time I'm networking for my next opportunity. And who's to say this time may not be blocked out on the weekend? It may not be during the week. Because like you said, you may not have time during the week, but you have to find some way to incorporate some type of time management in your schedule in which you can not only apply, but make connections in the industry you're trying to pursue or the position that you're trying to pursue. So I hope that was able to answer your question. Next question was indirect experience. Someone asked me how to show you are a quick learner when the position requires direct experience you don't have. And I know there's been times, I'm just going to go ahead and go through this list right here. But if you have indirect experience, and that's what I call it, it's transferable skills. So if you have experience in a particular trade or industry, or even if you don't, this particular person that asked this question says that it requires direct experiences that they don't have. So that's letting me know this may not even be a transferable skill. This may be point blank. They're asking for a particular requirement I don't have or possess. First thing you need to do is get it. Learn it. Learn the lingo, learn how to incorporate it in what you're currently doing. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can use for free. Not only has YouTube opened the door, Udemy and Coursera has kicked it open. And as Udemy is Udmy, I think, or maybe I spelled it wrong, but if you could type it in and you'll see what it is. This is getting certifications, and some of these certifications are absolutely free. So if you have a particular skill set that may be asking for, hey, we need someone with project management, and they may not be asking for a guru, and if they are, that's maybe not a position you need to apply for. But if they may be asking for someone that has exposure, someone that at least knows the lingo, knows to work their way around it, this is something that you can learn and actually teach yourself. It's really, carving that time out, and getting into it and disciplining yourself to pursue it and actually learn the skill set they're requiring and asking for. So you can take a class, you can get a certification, you can learn the lingo, use it in conversation, get a mentor, find someone that has the skill set that can give you the ins and outs or give you kind of the real deal with that particular skill set. One thing you can't fudge or you can't fake, because I know a lot of people say, well, fake it until you make it. You can't fake technical skills. So if this particular job is asking for a technical skill you don't have, you can't really fake that. Either you know it or you don't. It's kind of like IT. Either you know how to use, C plus, or you don't. Either you're a developer and you know how to use Java, or you don't. You can't really fudge that. You can learn it. There's definitely resources out there that you can use to learn it, but that's something you really can't fudge about. So you really want to make sure that you're getting the skills that they're asking, and even to sharpen the skills, volunteer. That requires that skill set. So not only are you saying, hey, I got this certification, or hey, I took this class, I was actually able to implement this skill with this particular organization. And when you volunteer, or if you do pro bono work, make sure you're asking for recommendations so they can co-sign on that skill set. Do freelance work. Get an internship. And I know that many people may say, well, I'm not in college anymore. There's so many internships out there, or I call them preceptorships, that are not for students. They're not for students anymore. We have people that are in seasoned careers that are taking advantage of internships and preceptorships. Don't think that internships are only for college students. You definitely want to take a look. Type internships in. They'll have a whole first 2 page of Google web page were sites dedicated to internships, and I can guarantee you they're not all for students. Again, there's some that are tailored for college kids, but there are a lot that are actually tailored to people that are maybe making career changes, that may want to get some volunteer work. And believe it or not, I've seen some of these internships that are paid internships that pay more than base salary jobs. So you definitely should be checking out those websites. One website I can think offhand, which is pretty simple, is internships.com. But there's so many other internship websites you should take advantage of. And again, a lot of them aren't free. You can get a paid internship. And a lot of people aren't leveraging that. So let's look at the next question. My resume is not looking attractive. What should I be doing? I'm not getting any callbacks, and employers seem not to notice it. How should I change my resume? Okay, next thing, let's take a look at this particular question. I use the CAR method, which is conflict action resolution. So when you have the CAR method, you're putting it in a format that shows or displays some type of solution. And I've looked at so many resumes nowadays that look like a copy and paste job description that rattles off duties. And they're not hiring you. They can hire anyone to complete a duty. They're looking for someone that's going to bring some type of solution to the table. So when you put together your resume, I usually use a format called the CAR method, which is your conflict, which means you're stating your problem. Whatever job you had, you encountered a problem. Because if there wasn't one, there wouldn't have been a job. And I'll repeat that. If there wasn't a problem or conflict, there wouldn't have been a job. You solved some type of problem, whether, hey, we have a marketing manager position open, we have an IT manager position open. Whatever the case may be, I'm hiring this person to solve a problem. Hey, we have a marketing manager because we need them to work with our PR team and put together blah, 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 blah to increase our sales and increase our market share. Whatever the case that it is, they're hiring you to solve a problem. You need to state that problem. Blah, 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 blah. For IT or for marketing, why were you hired? What did you do beyond the job description? I see so many people that say they manage 6 people or they da. Well, hopefully if you're holding a managerial title, that's a given. What did you do with that team? Hey, with their team, we increased sales. Or, within my team, I had 3 members that were promoted to XYZ department or were the top producers in our division. Whatever the case may be, that needs to be in there. You need to also talk about the action you took. Did you do any training, any processes that you implemented? Any action that you took to get that next one resolution? What was the end result? What made you that outstanding employee? And it should answer the question, why should I hire you? Employees want to know what value you can bring to their organization, but they also want to know what value you brought to your previous employer. So they're looking at a track record, and they want to be able to see that. But I'm going to move beyond the resume. I think now we're living in an economy where our resume is something that tells us what we do, but doesn't really necessarily tell us who we are and what we can bring. So I think a lot of times it has to go beyond the resume. And this is what I put in this particular slide. You want to be able to, if your resume is not getting the response that it needs, and maybe you're in an industry that's very, that's high in demand. You have a lot of people applying to jobs. So it's not that you don't have a good or competitive resume. It's really hard to be able to stand out amongst a pile of 500 resumes. So it's not even to say your resume is not good. It may be that you have a lot of competition out there. And that's the case. You need to figure out, how can I get beyond the job board? Are you contacting potential employers or decision makers? Is that part of your job search routine? Are you picking up the phone, cold calling these employers, getting some type of informational interview? Are you confirming the next steps? So if you're applying and if you're getting that screening call to set up an interview, are you confirming what are the next steps? Who would I be interviewing with? Are you doing research? If you're getting the no's, because a lot of people out there may be getting the no's of no fault of their own, are you asking for referrals? Are you trying to create a network that would benefit your professional goals, which means is if you can't help me out, can you point me in the direction of someone who can? And the next thing, are you asking for that feedback? And I know that there are a lot of people on the line that may say, well, I asked for feedback and I'm not getting it. Or I'm getting some type of cookie cutter feedback as if, we're going with a better candidate. Whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you're at least asking for it and get detailed with it. And you're right. They may not give you that direct feedback that you may be asking for, but believe it or not, there's some employers out there that will. They will tell you, hey, off the record, this is the type of skill set that we're looking for, and you were lacking that. They may even break it down very specific with you to see, hey, this is what we were looking for, and this is not, and you didn't have it. So you want to make sure that you are asking for feedback and you're going beyond the job board. In addition to this slide, I don't have it on the slide. Are you joining organizations and being a part of associations? Are you going to networking events? Not networking events that cultivate a job seeker environment, but a networking event that cultivates decision makers, people that people that are shaker and movers in the industry. Those are the people that you need to be networking with. Not a lot of people that are out of work. So make sure that you're selecting your networking events wisely. Not to say don't go to these events, but I know a lot of people that go to them and they wonder why I'm not really getting traction out of these events. But of course not. You're going to events where 90% of the people that are there are unemployed. You want to make sure that you're leveraging the conferences and events where you can actually come in contact with people that have some type of influence over the hiring. Next thing we're going to look at, next question that we had, is there a good way to track my efforts? I know you spoke about efforts in past workshops. Is there a way that I can keep track or automate this process? And I put this and I say this all the time, you can't change what you don't measure. And if you're on the phone with me today or listening to this workshop and you're really not tracking your efforts, you're kind of just, applying, seeing what sticks, seeing what interviews you have, really don't know what jobs you apply for or interview with, you really can't change anything. And you're working on a process, or you're working in a motion of insanity. That means you're doing the same thing and expecting different results. So you want to make sure that you're tracking your efforts. And there's a lot of things out there that you can use. You can use a CRM or a mobile app. Have people that say that you can download Evernote. There was something called Card Much Business. It was a scanning app, but they actually migrate users to Event Note. So that's something that's no longer existent. But I really like that. And I don't know, if you go to the App Store or Google Play or the Apple Store, whatever phone you have, you can actually look for business card scanners or something like that. I like that in a way because when you go to networking events and you always got that person, oh, I don't have a business card on me, or I'm all out, or they may have only one card left. You can scan it and save it, and it does it on the spot. And it also helps you kind of organize the people there. And the thing is, once you scan it, it gives you the option to, type little notes. So if you follow up with the person, you can kind of, oh, this is what we talked about. This is what they were looking for. You kind of already have notes with it versus just having a whole stack of business cards. You kind of have some type of direction. Another one is Jibber Jobber. That's another one. Jibber Jobber will help you not only find jobs, network, but also track companies. It also has a wealth of videos and a library of information from previous job seekers. Jibber Jobber allows you to track the information, and you can actually collect different information during your job search. You can track companies that you want to apply to, or your quote unquote target companies. You can track each job that you apply to, log a status of each application, and also log your first face-to-face interview. You can track your date that you sent your thank you note, and it had different other features that you can do. It also is a place where you can upload different versions of your resume. So you can have up to, I think they said up to 5 or 10 versions of your resume if you want to use it at that. There's also Google free CRM. Resources was kind of like it's really a customer relation management system, but you can use it in a way that you're tracking the companies that you apply to, who you spoke with at the company. You can log the dates and times. There's free software out there. You can just Google free CRMs, and they actually give you, and I think they even had a post for the 10 best free open source CRM software solutions that you could take a look at if none of these options I listed were something that you would use or implement. But like I said, it's free reign. Go out there and take a look at it, but there's no reason why you shouldn't be tracking your efforts. Not only tracking the companies you apply to, you should be tracking who you speak with. You should be tracking the days and times that you send thank yous, or if you had an interview, second interview, and also tracking the feedback. If you didn't move to the next step, why? Because what you want to do, you're trying to use this to look at trends. You want to figure out, okay, what's working and what's not. And I need to start putting more efforts to the things that are working. So if you're seeing that, hey, I got interviews at these companies by doing this, I need to do more of this. Versus, hey, this got me, eliminated in the second round, so I don't want to do this anymore. So you want to have some type of tangible data in front of you so you know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. If not, you can't change what you don't measure. So that's something that you want to look at as well. I had another question asked, I'm considering working with an agency or external recruiter with my job search. I know some of the advantages working with an external or outside source, but could you please explain some of the disadvantages that I may run into going this route? So if you're deciding to work with an agency or work with a recruiter, you also have to keep in mind that employment agencies, whatever they call themselves, staffing agencies, headhunters, whatever they want to call themselves, employee agencies serve as an advocate for job applicants by representing the job applicants' credentials to the employer. But keep in mind, headhunters, recruiters, they exclusively work for the company. Contingency recruiters, they get paid if they score a placement with the company. And you may be thinking, well, I know all this, and some of you may not, but I'm going to get to why this is important and why I'm pointing this out. And employment agencies, recruiters work in employment agencies, they do anything to help. They may also look for ways to help with your resume, assess your skills, or practice interviewing. So that's if you're working for kind of like a nonprofit or some type of government agency where they kind of offer different type of services. But most for-profit organizations, they're working on behalf of the company, which means, you're going to have your pros and your cons. And some of the pros is many of them, if they have a niche, they're going to be well connected. That's something that you probably already know. They're going to have access to jobs that are not posted. So if you're in a particular industry, I encourage you to find a recruiter that's in the industry in which you're looking to pursue. They may have access to positions that are not even on the job boards. It's going to save you time, which means that they're going to be able to put you in front of a decision maker, or better yet, get you to that no faster. And how blunt that may sound, sometimes it's best to get to the no faster so I can move on. I don't want to be drugged through the mud for 3 months just for you to tell me I didn't get the job or you're not moving forward. So sometimes having a recruiter in there, they can tell you, hey, I submitted your resume. They really weren't impressed, so they're not going to move forward. And I can learn that within 24 to 48 hours. So now I know I can move on and I'm not sitting there twiddling my thumbs. Next one is they can be an advocate for you. Now, if you're working with a good recruiter or someone that knows the ins and outs of the industry, that's going to be a little bit more compassionate about maybe your situation or maybe why you're changing careers, they definitely can be an advocate for you as well. Some of the cons may be the lack of communication. I hear it all the time. Hey, I reached out to a recruiter, I sent my resume, never heard from them again. That goes back to why I went through the key terms. Many times, if you don't meet the requirements that they're looking for or that the company's expressing, you may not hear back from them. You know why? Because they get paid upon placement. So if you're not going to be able to help them get paid, a lot of times you have some recruiters out there that, hey, you're not going to help me, I can't use you as a candidate, they're not going to move forward with you, on to the next one. And unfortunately, you do have recruiters out there that do that, and they kind of give, this industry a bad name. So you will have some recruiters that won't give you that communication because they find that you may not be a fit and, there is not bringing them closer to closing the deal. The next one is they may have limited jobs. Unless they have contracts with huge Fortune 500 companies or companies that are hiring on a constant basis, you may have limited jobs. And if you ever been to a small, and even mine, you can go to my website, that I may only have a handful of jobs, because I'm not an RPO. I don't have hundreds and thousands of job openings because we're a small company. But if you go to a different company or one that works on a global level, like your Kelly Services or your Robert Halves, of course, they may have hundreds and thousands of jobs that you could look through. So that's something that you could think about as well. Another con is they may not be impersonal with you. So they may be impersonal, which means they may not be giving you that one-on-one attention that you may be looking for. They may not be able to walk you through how to write your resume. If they're a recruiter and that's all they do is recruit, not that they don't want to, they're not a career coach. So they may not extend that listening ear or that shoulder to lean on if you're running into difficulties. They may say, hey, either you meet the requirements or you don't, and they move on to the next candidate. So they may come across cold. That's something which you can look at, and it also may be a lengthy process, and that's a catch-22. It's either or, depending how connected or how close they are with their client. I work with clients that I had them in and out. I've had people go through the recruiting process in less than a month, which means they, by the first week I submitted them, they got the interview. They had the second interview. By the second week, they had face-to-face by the third week, and they had an offer letter by the fourth. I've had to move that fast. And I've also had some that we're going to put this job on hold, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, and it turns into a lengthy process. And by all accounts, they also lose very good candidates in the process as well, especially if they're working with candidates that have options. Because if you have options, guess what? You ain't got to wait for no job. You can go out and get a new one. And if you're working with someone, and usually if clients are willing to pay for these type of candidates, usually they are very competitive, and they don't stick around for a lengthy process because they have other offers on the table, and they don't have to wait. Especially if you got two other companies, offering you a competitive salary. So the lengthy process can, definitely be a double-edged sword. It can be short or it can be long. So that's something you want to consider as well. Well, I'm going to open the lines up for any questions. If you do decide to log off or you didn't have any questions, please take the 10-question survey that we have. It helps us better or best. It lets us know what we need to improve on. topics you'd like us to cover in the future. And also, I want to let everyone know that's on the phone, or even when this is uploaded as the last recording, even though we do this every Monday at 7 to 8 p.m., we're looking at, I want to even say looking at, July and August. I want to say if we do come back August, it'll probably be at the end of August. We probably won't be doing Q&A sessions every Monday. We're going to probably take a hiatus because we're really trying to roll out our on-demand videos that people have been asking for, because we have a lot of people that sign up for this and unfortunately can't make it, and they always say, hey, shoot us the video. So we're looking for ways that we can not only have an on-demand site, but we have topics that, this is why I urge everyone to do the survey, because we ask you questions. Hey, what topics do you want us to do research on and cover? Not just questions. We have some people that have topics that we may have scratched the surface in our Q&A session, but they say, hey, well, we'd love for you to dig a little deeper in this, and we put together on-demand videos for that. So in order for us to get this launched in a timely manner, we are going to have to kind of, I want to say close down, but kind of put our Q&A sessions on hold for the next month. So we may not have those. If we do, we'll keep you posted, but it looks like we're really moving forward to do our on-demand videos and have that rolled out hopefully by mid or late summer. In order to do that, we really need to be able to put all our time in getting this launched, versus putting together a Q&A session every week. So, it's up in the air, but just in case you don't see another way, you don't see a way to sign up for the next one, that's because, of course, we may be taking that time to build our on-demand videos out. So let's take a look at any questions that we have. I have someone that asks, what will be a good answer to this question? What is your greatest weakness? Well, that's a question that everyone asks. And usually when they ask you what your greatest weakness is, most people, if anyone tells you anything, they always tell you try to take a positive attribute and make it a weakness. Like, traditionally, if someone asks this, they may say, I'm a perfectionist. So we all know that that's not really bad. Hey, I want someone that has attention to detail and and strives for perfection. So it's really not a weakness. But usually when people ask you, give me your greatest weakness, you really want to look for any type of attribute that you may have that you can kind of play it up to be a weakness. I really urge people. A lot of people say, well, I'll just tell them what my weakness is. And if it's a weakness that really can hinder your chances of moving forward, honestly, I wouldn't tell them. I wouldn't put it out there and hinder your chances of moving forward in a recruiting process, just because you want to say, hey, my real weakness is, and I'm not a morning person and expect me to show up late every day. They don't want to hear that, even though that may be a weakness. Hey, I'm not punctual. I'm not a morning person. But they don't want to hear that. You definitely want to sell yourself short. So I hope that was able to answer your question. So depending on what some strengths you have, or even some attributes you may have, I definitely would play that up to be something that would be a weakness versus actually expressing a negative characteristic, because in the light of some HR or hiring managers, they may use that as a way to hinder your progress through the recruiting process. So, be careful with that. But I definitely would play it safe, and find a characteristic that I could upplay or sell, not only as a strength but also as a weakness. See, do we have any other questions tonight? Don't have any other questions. Let me see. Oh, you're welcome. And I do have some thank yous. I'm glad I was able to answer your question with the slides. I do have some thank yous for those that I was able to answer their question with the slides. So if there's not any more questions, we have about 15 minutes. My contact information is posted here. Definitely shoot me an email if you think of something, if you're working with something or having a challenge now. Definitely shoot me an email. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me. It goes to all my mobile devices. That way you can get a direct answer promptly. If you rather talk to me in person, I urge you to go to the website and schedule a phone appointment. That way I can carve out some time on my schedule and we can actually have a one-on-one. We are giving specials on our resume writing and all that good stuff. We'll send the email now if you're interested in that for kind of the 4th of July. Um, if you're in the U.S., I should say, because we do have a lot of people that are online that are global, that 4th of July means nothing to them. But we are celebrating the 4th of July. We have the 4th of July specials going on. And I definitely, if you want to take advantage of our coaching or resume writing, we can send you the promo codes for that as well. If not, I wish everyone to have a great night. And again, shoot me an email, take the survey, and I look forward to anything that you may have to ask me in the near future. Have a good night and hope to hear from you soon.